Hello, everybody. I'm Kyle Carlson, and this is the Rollback BMX Podcast, the number one BMX podcast in the universe, according to me. Today's guest is Colin Mackay. Colin is a lifer in the BMX game. He was one of the first Australians to come to the United States and find success, and moved on to fill many different positions behind the scenes in the industry, most notably his current gig with Vans. Colin's an incredibly humble guy, but he has a wealth of knowledge and a hell of a story. Kick back, listen up. This is the Rollback BMX Podcast with Colin Mackay. Good morning, Mr. Mackay. How are you doing?
I'm going excellent.
How's everything?
Going great at the US Open here, and love these events, especially this one on the beach. Can't beat the blue skies, and been getting morning sessions in before practice, official practice, so can't beat it. Great way to start the day for me. And then enjoy shooting photos. Bowls series like this is, riding bowls and trails is like my favorite thing to do. So to participate, in giving photography and just working for Vans is it's got to be a dream come true.
So when did you actually come to the United States for your very first trip?
I'll officially say my first trip was 98. We landed in LAX. We rented a van, and our first stop was Woodward, PA. So we had 4 days to get across country, and we didn't realize how big America was. It's pretty funny, yeah.
Who were you with on that trip?
I was with Clint Miller and a couple other guys, but Clint Miller is the name you'll recognize. And he always kind of brought me up as a kid and showed me the ropes for sure. And I got to experience my first trip in America with him. He had been previously, so he had connections, and he was pretty popular, definitely in the Australian scene. So he had little connections here and there, and we rode amateur. And it was sweet. Yeah, we stayed slept in the van most nights. Got a hotel a couple of times a week. But we were sleeping in a van with 4 guys, and sleeping on bags, sleeping on bikes, just roughing it.
So I kind of look at you as, and granted we have a bit of an age gap between us, so I could be completely mistaken. This is just the way I interpreted things. You were kind of the first Australian that came over and made an impact in the contest scene. Is that accurate? I don't recall Clint ever really riding any X Games, Vans Triple Crowns, etc. Maybe I'm mistaken here, but were you kind of the first dude that came over and laid that path?
I guess officially, I hate to take that from Clint. We came over in 98, rode amateur. On the last event, he was asked by it was a BS comp, Hoffman event back then. They asked him if he wanted to ride in pro, and he went for it. He got that invite. Didn't bother me. Clint was really famous in Australia at the time and doing well and winning comps in Australia, so it was just no dramas with me. But he did okay in that comp. Over that summer we had an Australian X Games, and Chad Kegi came over, and he was doing well at Dirt and Park comps back then, before Vert and Mega Ramp, and we rode practice, and we just got along really well, and we rode the event together, and I won a few dollars there, and he's like, you got to come over and stay at my house, and at that time it was the Gilroy scene with Nyquist with Shred and Joey Garcia, Matt Martisic, all those boys. It was just a really good scene, and I was like, for sure I'm coming over. So I came over in 99, and I had no intentions of riding a pro comp, really. I didn't think I was eligible. I didn't think I'd do all right. But somehow Kegi got me a spot. He's like, you're riding pro at this one. I'm like, what? It was a BS comp in Louisville, I think, in 99. And I was really nervous for ages. I was like, I'm not getting last. Like, that's my ultimate goal. I'm not getting last. Like, I just did not want to see my name.
How many guys were in it?
Probably 30 or something.
So you had to just beat one of 29?
Yeah, and I just... I remember the first day of practice, my chain snapped, and people just kind of rode past me, and I was just like, felt like I shouldn't even be there. I just felt really embarrassed.
How old were you at this time?
It would have been 19. I turned 20 in America, so yeah, 19, 20, around that age. And practice went shotgun, and then I ended up going right in my runs, and I got 11th. So top 10 made the final. Didn't make the final, but they come up to me and said, hey, you got the last spot for X Games. I'm like, what? Like, I was just trying to not get last. Yeah, where's this X Games stuff coming from? I was so shocked. And then, so I ended up making X Games Park, and then that was San Francisco. Ended up doing well there, made the finals in X Games. Like, this is way too weird. And then I ended up getting 6th. And just from making the X Games, people were hitting me up to ride for them, and that was really weird because like I wasn't chasing this dream. It sort of was just falling in place accidentally, and I had a couple of different offers, and yeah, I ended up riding for a bike company they were going to give me contingencies for making the finals, like, you know, first down to 10th, and I wasn't riding for the most respectful company, I suppose, as far as BMX brands. But
was this Specialized?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
My decision.
So was that your first bike sponsor, Specialized?
Yeah, my decision was based on a few things. TJ Lavin was riding for him, Josh Heiner. I was like, this can't be, you know, too bad. And then the other thing was, I was working in Australia in a container, like set up in a car park for like 2 years doing kitchens and cabinets. And yeah, it's fair enough. Everyone has a job, and but I just saw an opportunity to not have to do that, and I jumped at it. You know, unfortunately, I wore a jersey with like, you know, some weird sponsors on there and stuff, but I didn't really. Kind of other people were doing the same thing at the time too, so I sort of fit in for one, and I just it was just, you know, I was able to not have to work in Australia, the job that I was doing back there, and somehow I've managed to hang around since then, and it's about 20 years.
So was Specialized paying you right off the bat, or was it just a contingency? Like,
I think they were using me like a contingency plan, but it worked for me because I was making finals. Yeah, the X Games, TV time, that sort of thing. I think they were probably trying to just gamble with me. It only lasted a year and a half. People always remember me riding for them, but it really wasn't that long. I don't even know how I stopped riding from it. Just sort of stopped and then moved on. Yeah.
Was that Diamondback from there?
Yeah, I'd say so. I had about a year off, and then like no bike sponsor, and then yeah. So I continuing with Specialized. I actually, you know, I'm in the Dave Mirra BMX game, which is a huge honor. But at the time, I wasn't even riding for Specialized, and I had to fill out all the paperwork. I didn't list any bike sponsor, blah, blah, blah. And I had a few other gigs going. But when the game came out, it was Specialized out. And I nearly fell off my chair. I said, what's going on here? And
that's like, such a bummer. So you're not...
So I'm in the game, and they're like, oh, sorry, so-and-so in the office said you were on Specialized. So it was just like word of mouth. And I think it kind of got swept under the rug. Like, I don't know if I could have sued them or what. I was really disappointed. But they're like, don't worry, we're doing Dave Mirra 3. We're doing Dave Mirra 4. Like, don't worry about it. And I'm like... all right, cool, yeah. Like they got my focus back on you know, getting it right the next time. So yeah, I still see that game. People say, oh, I was playing your character, and it does bother me a little bit that you know, I took advantage to ride for a company for a bit of coin, and that's who the bike sponsor is in that game. But you
kind of lost out on that deal.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be in the game.
Well, it's tough for a guy who's trying to make a living doing this, because essentially you're going to go try to sell yourself to a new brand. I need a new bike sponsor. And you go in there and they're like, dude, you're just in a internationally distributed video game wearing a Specialized jersey.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So I'm glad it worked out. When did you formally move to the States? When you were there in 99 and whatnot, did you just never go home? Or
Yeah, I had 6-month visas, and that's all I was eligible for at the time. So yeah, I'd do 6 months America, 6 months Australia, and summers were fantastic back then, riding all the time. And I had a good friend that was always filming me and hanging out with me, Stu John. So that was good to have him too, to have spare time. You know, he didn't really have much of a job going on, so we almost had a good partnership where I'd be riding all the time, he'd be filming me, and I was getting it over summer, and then come back here for summer in America. So had a good little routine going, and then I ended up getting more detailed visas. They call them athlete visas, but that's what you got to do to hang around here a bit longer, get a social security number and all that. And yeah, more and more I ended up staying here. I'd say, you know, I moved here, I'd say 2000 I moved to Greenville.
Was that your first formal residence in the United States, Greenville, North Carolina?
Yes, I would say so. I did spend the summer before in Gilroy, Northern California, but the Greenville thing come up. Good friends with Bruce Chrisman, and we were actually throwing up the idea of Austin or Greenville, and I said, it's up to you, mate. I'm just floating around, and he chose Greenville because we could rent an apartment that was across the road from the JC Park there, and we wouldn't need cars, and it was so cheap to rent. I remember rent was like $200 a month or something. It was so cheap, and it was perfect for us, and I ended up hanging around there for a few years. I got to see a lot and witness a lot of crazy stuff, and yeah, big part of my life for sure.
Well, it seemed like after you kind of came over here and got settled in Greenville, it wasn't long after that a handful of Australians started following. Was Bowen the next guy to come over?
I'd say Steve McCann.
Okay, yeah.
He wasn't far behind me. I can't remember if Gutler or Bowen were next, but they were very similar. They might have been the next year. Yeah, and then, Luke Parslow was around then, Cam White, Dave Dillaward, of course.
Do you feel like these guys kind of saw your success and wanted to come try their hand at it, or do you think they would have ended up here inevitably? Yeah. I know you're not an egotistical guy, and you're not going to sit here and be like, they saw what I was doing, so they came over. But, I mean, from an outsider, like if I see somebody go do something that I consider an equal or whatever, you can kind of be like, okay, well, he did this, so it works. You tested the waters. Do you think they were approaching it like that, or do you think not at all?
Maybe I inspired a little bit. I knew most of those guys because I'd go home during summer, and I competed with Stevie even when I was full-time living in Australia before I even came to America. So, there was comps in Australia. I knew those guys. Bowen and Dillard and Gutler are 3 or 4 years younger than me, but I knew who they were. I competed against Gutler. He was on a 16-inch bike, and he used to beat me, and it kind of bummed me because I was on a 20-inch, and I was like, he got me again. I was like 14 or something. He was probably 10 or 11, and he'd be doing 720 flyouts. And so I've known all those boys. I saw a lot of potential in Bowen. I definitely helped. I encouraged him to come over, and he stayed with me from day one when he arrived in America. And unbelievable to see the career he's had. Yeah,
well, I mean, a lot of those Australians in the past 10, 15 years have had incredible careers in BMX. Oh, yeah. And like I said, I think you were kind of the first that, obviously Clint paved the way for you, and it seems like you kind of paved the way for a lot of these guys to come do well in events and break into contests and get sponsors and whatnot. Was it ever difficult for you, or perhaps for any of these other guys, to be finding sponsors when you're not an American, and this is such an American sport, especially at the time? Or were people just psyched that you were on TV and a cool-looking, talented guy?
Yeah, I just think the scene was encouraging. Like, America's they just do everything bigger and better, I suppose. In Australia, my sponsorship was getting a free shirt, but you come here and they take you to a dinner and you get a pair of jeans and 5 shirts. It's like things were just the opportunities were better. There was a lot of comps back then. There was Vans Triple Crowns, there was CFBs that Hoffman was putting on, there was Roots Jam, there's always stuff to hit too. So I think I was just encouraging Aussies to give it a go, really. I did all right at some comps too, which I'm proud of. So, I never really been too competitive. I've never been spotlighted as number one, which has been probably one of my best assets because I never wanted to be, I never really had any pressure in my life, the only pressure was whatever I put on myself. So,
I think there's a lot of value in that from a business standpoint as well, because I think people see that, and I think it's very relatable for a lot of people. I think you see the hungry dude out there who's just gunning for that top spot, and obviously that has its place. But I also think there's a lot of riders and just human beings in general out there who are just enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
And I think if you can convey that in your riding, that's... I was talking to Ryan Scheer once, not long after Sabrosa started, and just talking about rider sponsorships. And I was kind of talking, we were talking sponsorship and riders and whatnot, and he made a comment that made sense, and he was like, the first time I've heard somebody verbalize it, he was like, we can go sponsor these dudes that do all the craziest shit, but, 1 or 2 of those guys is going to shine through. You're going to have your Garrett, you're going to have your Chad, but he's like, everybody else under there, kids kind of can't relate to, where then you have a guy who's doing fast plants and having fun, and it's like, people watch that and can relate to it, and that does better for us. I thought it was interesting saying that, and I think obviously different than what you're talking about, because you're talking about chilling and getting 6th in X Games, which is incredible. But no, I do think there's a lot of value in cruising and whatnot.
Yeah, I was never one to be like, oh, this comp's mine, I'm taking it. Anytime I did well, it was no, I was just trying to make the finals, and things worked out. Yeah, it was never really had the dreams of being sponsored, never, because I just didn't think it would happen, but things just worked out, I suppose, and unbelievable. Yeah, so to encourage a bunch of young Aussies to come over here and give it a go, that's an honor as well.
Yeah, looking back at your career, one thing I've always given you credit for, and I've heard other riders from around your era kind of cite as well as one of your strong points, is there were a handful of times losing sponsors and whatnot. It almost kind of seemed like it was coming to an end, and you kind of rebuilt yourself a few times. Maybe you didn't look at it that way because you were just cruising, doing your natural thing. But when you lose Specialized, it's like, oh, well, what's next? And then you're on Diamondback, and that ends, and it's like, was that the end of the line? And the Haro thing comes up. But all along the while, you're consistently doing well. Was that conscious at all? I know you're always an incredibly hardworking dude, which is, you say you're just cruising and stuff, but you've always worked your ass off. I mean, when it came to re-upping on sponsors and keeping the dream alive, were you consciously putting in hard work?
Yeah, I suppose. I felt like I got a little taste of America and I wasn't ready to go home. My whole plan was if things ended up wrapping up, like sponsors, said it's game over, I'd just go home to Australia. Like, no, that was always my plan. But then I got kind of my foot in the door and I just like, I don't want to go. So like, I just kind of fought for it really. It's not like I learned a bunch of new tricks or I just was just keen to ride and having fun and I wasn't sending resumes out or just kind of weird things would happen. Like I think one resurrection of mine was I did all right at a dew tour. The first dew tour I got fourth. I was sleeping in Nyquist's room on the floor, like in his room. Just he was helping me out as a mate. I didn't expect much of that event, but then getting fourth, like. That's how I sort of...
Was that in fourth in dirt?
Yeah. And then that got me some coin. Dew tours paid well back then. And then, I was staying on the floor with Nyquist, so I think I had a meal with Tony D, the boss at the time, and just, ended up getting on Haro. And then the Vans thing happened about that same weekend. So just things seemed to fall in place, luckily. I wasn't sending resumes out. I was just having a good time and... I can't explain it really. I got lucky, I reckon.
Kind of the standard one door closes, another one opens prophecy.
Yeah. The whole adventure for the last 20 years has been like that. I've stressed a few times on things, but it's just like things are, end up, falling in place one way or another. I would never in a million years thought I'd be shooting photos. That kind of just fell in place too. Like, various jobs, they were just throwing the photo thing come up as an interest. My wife was going to a journalism school, so she needed a camera, so I researched that for her, and then just maybe the research part got me a little hooked on trying to find about cameras, and then I started taking it on like day trips out when we'd go riding, and I was using the sports mode, the little green guy that was running. I was like, this is what you use.
You don't set it up, you put it on sports and it does everything for you.
That little green guy was the one, and I'm sure the pop-up flash was blowing up too, and probably shocking images. I couldn't imagine what they look like now, but just that from there, actually I broke my leg, and I read one of my wife's journalism books that she had. It was about photography, and I was like, I'm going to learn how to actually take a photo and get off this little green guy, because that's what I was just operating on full time. And seriously, breaking my leg that time helped heaps because I just read a lot, and then I was like, all right, and then I'd go out and practice new methods, and then Gutler coming to Greenville helped me out heaps because he was number one at the time, had 1 million sponsors, and they wanted assets of him, and there was probably better guys for the job, but that would entail them flying from California, blah, 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 a lot of money. I was always hanging around Gutler, so I almost did an apprenticeship with Vans. They would send me detailed almost sketches or like mock-ups of like, shoot this of Gutler, it's going to be a 2-page ad and ride, and I'd be like, oh, and then I'd just try and manipulate that, like what they were asking for. And so I'd have to say, like, I did an apprenticeship through Vans from the start, really, and it's cool to still be hanging around. And
when you were doing this beginning of photo type work with Vans, were you still a Vans pro?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. They were paying me like as a photographer as well, and then Twitter sort of kicked off first. Jerry's like, "Do you want some extra coin to run for Vans BMX Twitter?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll definitely give it a go," and then ended up being part of the social media team where I am today, and running Instagram and Tumblr, and it's sweet. Yeah, part of a team of about 15, 20 people that is Vans Snow, Vans Skate, Vans Girls, Vans Actual Channel, House of Vans. Yeah, it's really sweet.
Throwing it back to when you were first coming over here and whatnot, Did you end up with any really strange, obscure sponsors? Like Nyquist had his Butterfinger deal, and do you have any of those that paid you a shitload of money to just rock something goofy?
It's come up recently, but just we were at X Games a couple of weeks ago, but it was finals 5 minutes before it started. This guy come up to me with a power bar sticker and was like, "Put this on your helmet. If you get on TV, I'll give you $500." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So like, camera come my way. I was just like, "How you going?" Like, gave him the look, and then $500 straight after the event, and that was a weird one. Just little weird deals like that. Specialized had some weird ones. Like it was
that was the era of co-sponsors, right? So
yeah,
you'd be repping other brands.
Like it was like Speed Stick deodorant and Colgate toothpaste and Mountain Dew, and but the toothpaste and deodorant one was a weird one. That was part of Specialized.
It's funny because that's weird, but then you look at today and it's like I use that shit every day.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Other than that, no, I didn't really get too crazy. I don't think. No, I rode for Split clothing for a while. That was really fun because it was with Nyquist and Harrington, and we had some fun with that. Yeah. So,
fast forwarding to the modern time, did you ever really envision being a lifer in the industry, falling into jobs, being a team manager, doing social media, shooting photos? Was this all just kind of by the fact that you're well liked and can deliver when people need you to, or was that ever something you thought about?
Honestly, like I got really lucky with the so-called transition. I still haven't, I officially would never say I'm retired. I hear that a little bit. I still ride as much as I can. I have, 2 boys now, to look after too. I don't ride as much as I'd like to, but I'll go ride one day and then I get hooked, and then I'm out there the next morning again. Like it's still in my blood. I still see things I want to do. If someone was hanging around me with a camera, I'd probably still try and film some stuff. I still interested in that. I never envisioned my path I'm on now, and I never was like I'm going to be a team manager. I just the TM thing sort of popped up from just helping Tony D. I guess I'm always just down to give a hand, I suppose. And if I see something that needs fixing up, I give a hand, and that's kind of helped me get to where I am, I suppose. And never had dreams of I'm going to ride for 4 years and then be a team manager. Yeah, that's the plans. Like, man, I still call Australia home, and I've been here 20 years. Like. It's been a long journey for sure, and I'm still hanging around. I love it. I don't see myself going back to Australia anytime soon, just because I'm so involved with everything Vans has going on, and I want to contribute to BMX as positive as I can, and that's my outlet right now.
How is your citizenship status? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm perfect.
Are you a citizen?
No, I'm an Australian citizen. I have a green card, which is a permanent resident card, and it's valid for 10 years, and I've had one. Perfect success rate, and I reapplied, and too easy, got another one. I've never had any trouble, so
your kids were born in the United States, correct?
They have dual citizenship though. We got them sorted they got Australian passports as well, so they're dual citizens, and they love going home. We're taking them home in October, so they got cousins, and our family loves seeing them back there. So my wife's from Australia too.
How do your kids do on that long flight?
Yeah, iPads are a great babysitter, I'll tell you. So.
Yeah. Do you go back a couple times a year or what?
Yeah, somehow a trip usually comes up, and generally I definitely would have been back once a year, every year for the 20 years, sometimes twice a year. Yeah, I something always pops up. I think on my world travels, all these countries I've been to, I think Australia is the place that comes up the most for me to go back to, which is cool because that's
just coincidentally.
Seriously, yeah. Every year, I reckon, yeah.
That's not a bad gig.
It's unbelievable because it's home, and when I land, it feels like home still. So
yeah. Do you envision yourself ever living there full time again?
Of course, I love it. I listen to Australian radio every day. I watch football all the time. Still, I'm so addicted to Australia. It's not funny, but I live in America. I love it here though. It's cool. The opportunities and working for the actual company is definitely a bonus. So
you initially kind of fell in. You were riding for Haro. You became the Haro team manager. Was that your job, team manager?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say title. Yeah, I was sort of juggling both for a bit there, and I I was on the website and I said, can I take myself off the website? And that I might have shot myself in the foot there because
all of a sudden your paychecks got smaller.
I just felt weird. Yeah. Colin did this over the weekend. I couldn't talk about myself.
Third person?
Nah, I just didn't feel right. I don't even know if I did it once, but I was juggling, so I never said I've stopped being a pro bike rider. Like obviously I'm a little more underground than, what I was in the past when I was just a pro bike rider. But I think that little juggle period was a bit weird as being TM and trying to be on the team as well. So I took myself off the website and it felt better. I felt like I enjoyed talking other people up as well. And I guess that's, photography hobby was kicking in full steam, and that's, I'd miss a final, but I wouldn't be bothered because I would shoot finals and have something to post on Monday and talk about. And comps for me kind of changed when I used to do what I wanted to do. I would manual a big sub. I would do things like I would ride the comp thinking, I'm going to do that in the finals, and I'd save stuff. And then it got to the point where it was like really hard to make the finals. And I had to learn a few tricks that feel horrible. And I hated doing them. I wouldn't practice them. I would just do them when they called my name out.
What do you do? 3 double whips?
Three double whips and double whips. I hated them. They didn't even feel that good.
Yeah.
And years ago, I'd do 3X up to turn down, bloody 3 tables. I wouldn't really focus on box jump stuff. I'd be cruising around the course.
What I always liked that you did was the Superman or the tail whip, and you stop it with your arms and do a Superman.
Yeah.
Did you not like that one either?
Nah, that one was cool, but it was inconsistent a little bit too to get it right. And then like tail whip to bar spin too, like that was a big trick of mine. And like Cam White especially opened my eyes to that. He was just flinging them in practice mid-set, and for me I'd have to man up. It'd be like if I had a perfect 3 runs, I would give it a huck at the end, and I didn't have that consistent. But so I never practiced my tricks at home before the comp, and I would go there and I would just give them a fling and see what happens. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes I was getting hurt a bit too doing that method. It wasn't the greatest method, so I wasn't practicing because I didn't like doing those tricks. But if I pulled them, I'd probably get fourth or something, or I'd do it right. So that was sort of like where it kind of bothered me to go to comps. And then I started hearing my name getting called out, where I was sort of established in the scene then, and so they would give me a bit longer intro, and it was sort of bothering me. I just wanted to drop in, and so I was just like, I definitely stopped competing a few years ago. I think I rode here, probably was 2014 maybe, and that was probably, I would say, my official last contest. I still love riding. It's bloody so much fun, and I've learned how to ride a bike, so that's like been a huge asset. I can still rip into turn downs and tables and things that are really fun for me. Doing toothpicks on a quarter is fun, and so I've learned how to do cool things, so I just enjoy doing that stuff now. I'm definitely done competing, but I'd be down to film some stuff again one day. Not scared there.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that happen. I think a lot of people would like to see that happen. When you were with Haro and the formal rider part of your job went away, were you still on vans as a rider?
Yeah, and Jerry's never tapped me on the shoulder there either. He got to a point where this is how much money I got for you. You're a rider. Help me take the guys to lunch. Pack the van, drive the van. So I sort of Jerry's never said, all right, Colin, you're not a rider on the team anymore. And it was sort of that's been honourable as well. For a company like Vans, just to give me more roles, and I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about other people. I get a buzz being able to see my friends do well and being able to talk them up, because it makes me feel good, rather than talk about myself. So I'm glad I sort of slack on my own Instagram and stuff, because I talk about other people, and I like talking other people up rather than posting myself up. So that's sort of what I'm into right now. Working with Vans and just the role that they've given me, and never really given me a title role. It's just I just help Jerry with numerous things, and it's working out, and always something to do. Jerry always needs a hand.
So from start to finish, how many years were you with Haro?
12, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that just came to an end at the beginning of 2018?
Yeah, last year, end of 2017, yeah. Bit of a shock.
You expected it to continue as it was?
Yeah, and that was the word too. There was always a bit of pressure. They wanted me to live in Carlsbad real bad and help out at Haro more. I had like a job with Vans also, and there was not really two sides, but I definitely had two jobs. So, yeah, I guess Haro were trying to pull me towards their side, and there was a bit of a split there, So, all positive. Haro dreamed for me to be working at Haro, and that wasn't possible. My wife has a good job on the East Coast. She also works for Vans, so I had my little run at the pro career, so forth, and she's doing well now. So I would never say let's move to California because she's doing great with her position. So I probably rode for Haro, I would say, like officially like 6 or 7 years, probably, like sort of half the time, and then sort of more focused on TM stuff, because we would go on trips and we wouldn't be able to bring a filmer and photographer, so I would be driving the car and shooting photos. So I was sort of and then probably get a clip or two as well if I was having fun somewhere. Yeah,
I think that's ideal for a rider. You need people that wear a lot of hats. There's just not enough money to have 1,000 people on there doing 1,000 jobs.
Yeah.
I know when you parted ways with Haro, a lot of the riders seemed pretty bummed. I know along the same time, it seemed there were some cuts going on. Watts was off, Fernangle was off, maybe others. Did you know that was coming as well, or was that?
Yeah. As a TM, you sort of get the outlook on what's coming. There's no surprise there. My thing was a shock. I always thought, like Haro, I was really invested personally with the team because I kind of like developed it really, like for the most part. Dennis and Chad on as 16-year-old kids, and other people too on the team. It's just like I always felt that I was one day going to have to tell the boys, sorry, I gotta leave. So to be told to leave myself, it was very much a shock. Didn't see it coming at all, and then that's fine. Haro wanted me to work at Haro in California, and that didn't suit my life, at this point, at that point when they threw that offer to me, and I was kind of on my way out. Yeah.
Did any of the guys leave because you were gone, or did they get let go?
I'd have to say Jason. As soon as I told him, he's like, I'm over it straight away. Like, that's cool, because Jason got on. I gave him a hand to get on, and so he told me he felt like he rode for me. So he was gone straight away, and he hasn't established a new bikes once, but it didn't bother him. He was just he's happy to be shredding and doing his thing, and I'd say him for sure. Tyler wasn't happy. I looked after Tyler for years. His contract, was negotiated, so he made the decision to bail there. He wasn't happy that I wasn't there either, but can't help that. A few of the other guys were locked in deals, but they're going all right, I suppose, and it's all in their hands now. For me, it was just a shock, I'd say, because they're like my best friends. I cared about them, and I always thought I would be leaving the company, not them.
Kind of doing it on your own terms.
I got a bit shocked, yeah. But yeah, great times. They never hassled me once. They gave me credit cards. They let me. We did a trip to Australia that was a shock to their budget, because I was never told an amount. We never got in trouble either. We just spent a lot of money. We stayed in fancy places. We ate good food, and we had the time of our lives. But that trip to Australia, after that, we did various other world tour trips, but we definitely had a cap on budget after that. Yeah. So, but still, they never said no to my ideas, and really, like, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It was a great experience. I learnt a lot, maybe for the transition in my life from pro bike rider to helping out with other things. I learned a lot of that through Haro, so that was a good experience. Nothing bad to say about them. Seriously, the bikes were fine. It was always I never broke one of their frames. When I was 13, 14, I loved Haro for sure. So to spend a decent amount of time actually working for that company, it was a good experience.
I was surprised they didn't try more to keep Jason on board, because I think Watts is incredible. He's one of the rare personalities in the sport that isn't a clone, but he'd also ride the double top 2 bikes and stuff. It just seemed like, man, this guy, if you're going to keep one guy and have to let everybody else go, I would think that guy would be Watts. But that's just, my take on that.
That's my boy, yeah. So I think
he'll get something new real soon. It'll probably be perfect for him.
he deserves it, and we're from the same town in Australia, like the exact same. We went to the same school. A lot of similarities between us, and we're probably 10 years apart or more, 15, I think even. I look after the kid. He's a good personality. There's not many people like him in the industry these days, like willing to have fun, run around on a course with a referee's outfit, just to have a bit of fun. He, like he was doing yesterday at the Vans Pro Cup. But
so
he's a quality kid.
When you go home now and you're a respected adult with a family, you're like, I'm friends with this Hellraiser that's probably...
He's good quality, man. I respect him a lot. And to see him win in Mexico last year, it brought a tear to my eye for sure. He deserves it. And after you saw the weekend, the few nights he had before that, you wouldn't ever dream of that he was going to win the event on the last day.
He's a rare breed, man. BMX needs more of him.
He's bloody good fun.
Not to throw him under the bus here, but during the X Games qualifier in Boise, he walked up to me and said something, and I was like, "You fucking smell like whiskey."
Yeah, that's him warming up. Yeah, he needs to. He always told me he saw it on TV or something. Musicians, they have a little swig or something just to knock the edge off, and that was what he told me a few years ago. And yeah, you see him sipping on Coke during his runs. Yeah, it's just a little something to take the edge off. He's not trying to get wasted. It's nothing like that.
I get it. You got to grease the wheels a little bit, man. Like,
seriously, and he gets nervous, and it helps him. And I'm cool with it. Illustrated, he'd have a little swig the whole time, but it wasn't to get wasted. It's just his way of, he doesn't smoke or anything. Some guys smoke to calm down, so that's his way of calming down. And getting it done.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm cool with it. I couldn't do it myself, but
we'll see if he can do it when he's 30.
Yeah, I know.
So when you left Haro, you went and you built up a cult, right? Was that what you were riding?
Yeah, the Haro thing, I was in California still, and the next day I had a shoot with Rick Kenny and Travis Hughes. And Dak rolled up and he's like, "What's going on, man? Like, what's happening?" And I was like, "Something weird happened yesterday," and I let him know. And he's like, let's do an order right now. And I working with Vans, they do have a close relationship with Colt. And I was always jealous of the cool things Colt was doing working for Haro. I was like, look at these jams they're doing, look at videos and stuff. So I was always sweating things Colt was doing, so I'd admired them as a brand and what they were doing. It's also another funny thing is, before I rode for Haro, Robbie gave me a fit, and then I rode for Haro for 12 years or whatever, and then the moment that collapsed, it's funny, Robbie give me another bike again.
So Robbie's your rebound? He's the fat chick you call when your chick leaves you?
I was hurting for a couple of parts the other day, and I said, "Here's my credit card, let's do it." And he didn't reply, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on there." It was just a few hours. I wasn't like hanging off the phone or anything. And he turned up and just handed me all this stuff, and I'm like, "What?" So he's looking after me. I appreciate it. I love the image of Colt. I love the cool stuff they do. They're always working hard. Some of my good friends are. I admire Dak so much. Rick Haney I've known forever. So at this point in my life, I get to choose whatever I want to ride, and I'm very, very happy to support them. I don't ride for them. I don't, nothing like that. But I just, I dig them. Dig everything they got going on for sure in BMX. A positive company, actual BMX company, and a fantastic future for them, I hope.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think Robbie's got his ear to the ground, and he really is a BMX rider. You know what I mean? Which is kind of rare in the game, And anyway, you're still in Virginia Beach, correct?
Yeah.
Is that for the foreseeable future you're going to be out there?
At the moment, unless my wife gets another opportunity or something in California. But we're happy. We got a cool house there and cool scene. And Jerry never brought up at all. It doesn't bother him. Everything I do, I generally travel to anyway. If I was living in California, I'd probably be doing stuff all weekend. So luckily I've been kind of dodging those, weekend outings with the boys maybe. But so I come out here a fair bit, 4 times a year probably, and hang around for a couple of days. And for the most part, my job now, I'm on the road. These Vans BMX Pro Cup stops. I'm part of that team that helps with that. So they're all around the world. So yeah, Jerry's never brought up the fact that it bothers him that I live in Virginia Beach. As long as I'm contributing, doing a good job, that's fine by him.
You still have trails out there?
I went there once last year. I got a bit busy here and there, and the two main guys that I sort of leaned on sort of moved on. One guy got over the jumps, and the other guy was in the Navy. And since they split, I just don't have time to. If you want to have good trails running, you need to dig more than you ride, and it was hard for me to invest that time. I wanted to just ride selfishly, but as I hit nearly 40, down to throw around a little bit, but some kids sort of took it over, and it was just a bit. They had some shocking ideas, and I went out there once last year, and this year I haven't made it back. But I'm hoping things kick off again. I've mostly just been riding. There's 2 parks in my town. I just hit some laps there.
Are they decent?
Yeah, I like it, man. Seriously, this bowl in Norfolk is amazing. It's a little bit of a drive, 20-25 minutes.
Is that the park that also has like a big street area?
Yeah.
I went there with you once a long time ago.
I love it. I wish it was in my street, but it's a good 20-25 minutes away. But I ride there. I ride Trashmore in the morning sometimes. Trashmore just got an upgrade a little bit. So, yeah, there's a few things to keep me happy. I never go to Greenville anymore. It's only like 2 or 3 hours away. I haven't been there in 5 or 6 years or more. I think I just rode the unit so much when I was competing, like due to an era, that it sort of burnt me out. I love just being out in the sun or watching the sunset. Like something about being outside riding makes me happy. Maybe it's how my youth was. Is a reminder to it. I don't know. The unit's a fantastic facility, and maybe if it had no roof on it, I don't know what it is. It's hard to talk rubbish on it. I had some good times there, but if I'm going to go for a ride, it's going to be about 10 minutes from my house, and I'm going to ride for a couple of hours and be happy rather than hit a road trip somewhere.
That 2.5-3 hours is like that magic amount where you probably should day trip it, but then it's a long day. Like it sucks. You're looking at 5 hours in the car and then 3 hours there plus stopping and whatnot. And it's like a big commitment. I know what you mean. There's a lot of similar spots like in Southern California. Like whenever I go to like Pat Casey's house, which is about 2 hours from me, more if there's traffic. And it's like, man, that totally just ruins you. If you do that like one day, get caught in traffic a little bit, but nature of the beast, part all in good fun. But I hear what you're saying. If you have a good shit, 10 minutes away. I just want
to go ride, man. Yeah. And I just love being outside, to be honest. Like the sun and the sunset, the sunrise, whatever.
Do you keep up with the scene in Australia?
Yeah. Probably not as much as I think I do. But I do. I know the new kids for the most part.
Who are you psyched on out there right now? Who are the new guys that are catching your eye as a veteran Australian?
That Josh Dove kid's sick. He's probably 14 or 15. Colony kid. He's got it going on. I could see him riding these Pro Cups in a few years' time. For sure, probably him at the moment. Obviously Alex Heim, he's pretty established now though, especially last year or two. Chris James is sick. I just know where he's from in Australia too, and to see him doing well and being over here gives me a buzz.
Where is he from? Just middle of nowhere? Or what?
He's from Cairns, up like north on the east coast of Australia. But he's probably 27, 28, and he kind of just came through the scene last year. Manly, we noticed him. He was shredding practice in Manly at the first stop, and he just blew it in the contest. Where if he just did a couple of things, he would have made it in. But I talked to him into going to Malaga. I was like, dude, you going to Malaga, save up. And Clint Miller ended up helping him out with Colin to get there, and he won the regional qualifier, which was so sick. I just was calming him down before his run. He has potential, man. He blasts, and he just looks fantastic on a bike. So I get stoked for him for sure. Love seeing him do well, and he's been giving it to Dugan actually lately about Chris James has been giving it to Larry about the high air stuff, and Sunday is going to be pretty insane to see what happens there. The high air comp.
I'd never heard of Chris James before the Malaga event last year. Dude, holy shit. He's so good. He can do everything.
That park was wide open, and he could carry speed, and I love that loose style for sure. And he rips on a quarter, which is so sick to see. What
do you think about kind of the more traditional contest style riders? You got Logan Martin doing incredible things. Baldock's still doing a lot. Brandon Lupos is he's riding some Vans events, but he's really starting to shine in the other types. What do you think of those guys?
Yeah, I don't really know those guys, to be honest. I just sort of hanging with Brandon a little bit lately, but Logan, I really barely know. I say hello to them all. I respect what they're doing. Logan's, he rides a lot of the parks I grew up riding, and some of the things we were stoked to jump back in the day, and he's doing 3-bar whips over it and stuff now, and that's mind blowing. I admire him. I know he works hard for his stuff. He practices all day, every day, but I'm stoked for him to be like that, because it was never in me to be that sort of rider, because I don't know, I just never really was a trainer like that. But I like seeing them do well, and I'm very proud to see those guys succeed and get medals here and there, and with the outlook for Olympics, all the power to them, really. Yeah, I don't really know Cole, a little bit over the years. He spent a bit of time in Greenville, Kyle Baldock, but yeah, I'm just proud of them for being Aussies and giving it a crack and giving it a run over here and on the worldwide circuit. Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about that kind of riding. That's fine in my books.
Between those guys, and then you have your bull riders, your Chris James and your Alex Hyam to an extent, and then street guys like
Lewis Mills.
Calvin, Lewis Mills.
Yeah.
Like Australia's got a really big place in BMX.
Yeah.
Across the board, they have dudes doing everything, and it's
seriously, yeah, I couldn't be happier, to be honest. Definitely a huge list of shredders that have come out of Australia and will continue to come out of Australia. They've had a good reputation over the past, and seriously couldn't be happier with that.
What's next on your agenda as far as travels go and personal desires? Is there anything you want to accomplish still that you haven't done yet?
Yeah. I'd love to work on another part again. It's been a few years, and I like having that sort of, as I don't know, just kind of showcase that I'm still out there riding. It'd be sick to work on something again there. Just continuing to learn more about the industry and help fans as much as I can, help Jerry as much as I can. He's busy, and we sort of work well together, different assets. He can remember numbers he can remember how much the bill was 6 months ago at lunch, where, I'd have to take a note down if we just had lunch 10 minutes ago. But then I can help with other things too. I'm a bit calmer than him. Sometimes he gets fired up, but we work well together. We got a good little thing going on there. I keep an eye on the industry and let him know what's going on as well. So, I just want to keep contributing and trying to do the best I can with whatever I'm doing. Really, always trying to improve.
Do you plan on sticking with Vans as long as they'll have you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't see that ever messing up, and if it did, only good things to say about the company. The things they've done for me. When I first got on Vans, at the time, I sort of explain it like if you fed a hungry dog or something, like they just hang around you and do whatever it takes to be a companion since then. And that's sort of how Vans was. It was easy for them to send me somewhere, but I would win some money at a comp or something, and I was just so grateful. And then they would take me shopping and get shoes and clothes, and then I ended up getting on the team and such. But that initial love that they gave me, like, that lasted forever already. So they just do cool things for BMX. They've never slowed down once. They've been in BMX since the start, and they're only continuing with product. Their outlook is strong too. That we're talking about things 2 years down the track. So it's Vans isn't going anywhere, and I hope I can continue to contribute to the brand as well.
When you first joined as a rider, did you ever see it being anything along these lines, or did you think it was just a bike sponsor, or a shoe sponsor?
Yeah, I was sort of at the back of the line for a heavy crew that was already on the team, so I completely didn't expect to really even go anywhere with my future with Vans. Ended up getting a couple ads in Ride, and
I remember, I think it was the first one. It was a black and white wire at the table.
Tailwhip, I think.
Was it?
There was a couple. Both of them were Warrides, yeah. But,
it was a black and white, like, pretty heavy contrast. It was really sick.
Yeah, yeah. The first one was a Warride to whip, and then the next one was like a Warride, like, tuck thing, sort of thing. But yeah, they definitely gave me a bit of shine when I didn't expect it, because they had a heavy crew on the team then. So I'm happy to say I rode for them definitely for a while, and then kind of transitioned into this role, which is sweet.
What's your take on being as big of a part of Vans as you are? You know, the shoe industry in the BMX game is hurting right now.
Oh, yeah.
More and more brands are pulling out, cutting back. You know, Etnies let Pova go. None of the riders know what their future is. You know, possible spoil alert. Who knows what's going on at Nike? But, like, Vans is kind of the only game in town. And I almost feel like, you know, it's great for Vans and all, but I think, you know, it's bad for the industry. We need more brands out there supporting it. What's your take on that? And, you know, what is Vans' stance as far as continuing to support?
It is a bit sad. There is about to be no competition, sort of, unfortunately. You know, Vans would like, you know, another shoe company to throw a series or throw jams that we could attend. But we're sort of pulling the weight right now. And they're not even trying to. It's in Vans' blood to contribute to the lifestyle of BMX. So it's just it's a natural instinct, and I think it's unfortunate. Especially we can't sponsor everyone as well. A lot of people have been hitting up Vans lately, and for sure we'd love to sponsor you.
Like legit badass dudes.
Badass dudes.
Yeah.
And mate, like we've got to look after the 15 guys we pay. Unfortunately, like
and I think it's worth noting that paying 15 guys is incredible. And BMX in 2018,
biggest team, and I can't think, you know, that actually looks after you, and 15 guys on the payroll, and each year things shuffle around. A couple of guys lose a few dollars, one or two get added on. But the good thing about Vans BMX is, as well, we don't announce so-and-so's off. They're basically family. If they've contributed to our program for a number of years, they're part of the family. And you know, you might not be getting paid next year, but if you need a flight somewhere to go on a trip with your bike sponsor, we'll give you a hand, which is cool. Over the last few years, there's been a few changes, and nobody's really noticed it. Not because we don't want bad news in the air, but because we don't just hire and fire. It's like, you know, look, shuffling things around, you're still part of the team, but financially we can't provide. You know, we try and keep it, you know, new guys in rotation just to give everyone opportunity, and you know, we don't want to keep it too stale, you know, like. I think that's a really cool thing of Vans.
Well, and as well, you know, and it's been like this for quite some time, even with other shoe companies in the game. If you're a dude who's on Vans who doesn't get paid, but you get some travel and you get some contingency, you have a better deal than most guys with shoe sponsors out there.
Unbelievable.
So many guys have a shoe sponsor that would pay him $500 a month flat, and that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I could ride, you know, if I had the opportunity, I could ride for Vans and get some travel and contingency, and it's going to be a lot more than $6,000 a year. It's a better deal.
Oh, man. And we eat good. We stay in nice places. Like, it's unreal, to be honest. What a company.
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot for me. I know they do a lot for you. And
oh, mate. Yeah. Jerry asked me to do side things here and there, and it's just not even a question. You know, I'll do anything for those guys, for Jerry or the company. You know, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. What's next as far as you at Vans? Are you trying to get a bigger role there? Or are you kind of psyched where you're at?
No, I'm not chasing anything extra. Jerry throws more and more on me each year, which is fine. I like to help him out. He's trying to transition into more event stuff. He's helping with skate a lot this year, so I've told him, if you need me to go somewhere, take the boys, I can handle it. He knows that. He knows I'm basically his right-hand man for various jobs. So I'm hanging around, and I'm ready to work. And that's about it. We have some cool stuff going on. I have a social budget that I can tap into, and you know, we just did a camping trip with Rick Haney and Trey Jones, and that went over well. And we got a little back to school shoot with Matthias about to drop, and
is that the Kansas thing?
Yeah,
that looks badass.
We did a shoot with Angie Marino and Brooke Crane. Brooke has been in the Olympics in the past, and Angie looks like a bit of a hopeful in the future. So we're trying to do some cool things socially as well, putting some money into things that just go on Instagram and Twitter, basically. Not even for really the YouTube channel. So we're trying to, we've got some cool things going on. Vans is down to help, and they're up for any ideas, and they've barely said no to anything so far. So what a company to work for, eh?
As far as you personally, I know losing the Haro gig was was a shitty deal for you. Are you taken care of with Vans? You're golden?
Oh, mate. Like, yeah, they actually gave me a bump. They're like, mate, you're working hard and blah, blah, blah. Gave me a pat on the back, and yeah, I'm fine. Absolutely.
So you're not out there looking for other gigs?
Nah,
with other brands?
People were hitting me up like, which bike company are you going to work for? Blah, blah. And it's like, at this point, I'm actually pretty busy with van stuff, to be honest. Whether it's the social program I help with, or helping Jerry, or and then there's various photo shoots, and sometimes I help with video stuff too. But majority is photo. Honestly, I'm pretty busy with that. I'm not chasing jobs for sure, but some things come my way, here and there. But Vans is going good for me, I tell you.
Well, I know you need to get out of here pretty quick because you have to go pick up your mother at LAX.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Driving LAX is going to suck, so I don't envy you for that. The important question that I needed to answer is, who is your favorite BMX rider of all time?
Oh, wow. Man, I got a handful of names I'm thinking of, but I'd have to say the first guy that was pretty mind-blowing to me I'd have to say Matt Hoffman. We used Head First was, I'd have to say, the first BMX video I saw as a 13-year-old kid, and seeing Hoffman blasting airs and doing the things he was doing and cranking flares out and landing flat, and just like we were trying to ride tranny and we were trying to blast airs too. So like he was our god for sure, and he is still the god in BMX really. But I'd say Matt Hoffman, man. I was in the same room as him last night, and I still get a buzz, of course. Like, I know who he is, and I know how many times I watched Head First and seen his career unfold, really. Last year at this event, actually, I was having breakfast by myself, and he come out of the lift, and he's like, "Hey, Colin," and I was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And he's like, "Can I join you?" I was like, "What? Like, Matt Hoffman's going to join me right now?" And then we shared breakfast, and he was sort of talking to me a little bit deep, and I was starting to spin out because in Head First he gets a bit deep at the end there, and then that Fugazi song comes on, and I was like, this is like actually happening right now. Like,
did you take your phone out and start playing the Fugazi song?
Man, seriously, like goosebumps. And I was trying to go ride that morning. I was just trying to grab a quick feed and go ride, and I never made it to riding because we talked for like an hour. He told me about his kids. He told me about how he likes riding on his own, and I was like, man, this is Matt Hoffman. So that was a huge buzz, considering majority of my teenage years I was trying to blast airs like Hoffman for sure.
Bonus final question. Favorite Australian rider of all time?
I'm gonna have to say Clint Miller. I met Clint Miller on a train when I was like 13. This guy was at a station about to get on the train, and I was like, he's exactly out of like BMX Plus and like the magazines back then, like his whole look. And I was like, this dude knows what's going on. And it turns out it was Clint Miller. He was having a jam the next weekend. He gave me a flyer out of his pocket. There was no email transactions or websites to look on back then. And I went to the jam, and he was really good on a bike, obviously. And I ended up doing trips with him, to comps in Australia, and he'd win them all. And Miller was the man. So, I tried to ride like him for ages. And
did you ride front brakes ever?
I did ride front brakes. Strangely, the first time I came to America, my front cable was like a little bit frayed or something. And the first thing we went to was a King of Dirt in San Diego, or it's like one of those Panasonic comps or something. And seriously, like, I never put my front brakes on after that dirt comp because Joey Garcia was just ripping in double trucks. Nyquist was shredding. And
was that pre-front brakes Nyquist?
Yes, it was. And I think that really changed my mind. I was like, man, like, I was riding a bit of dirt back then. I was into jumping, but then I was like, I gotta scrap these front brakes. So yeah, I did have him at one point. Clint Miller, huge influence, and I'm gonna have to say he's my favorite Australian, just for the early influences and how cool he was to me, and the scene he was putting on jams. He was, and then he's gone on to, have a really a fantastic Australian bike company. He's worldwide, but the Australian scene he wraps up hands down.
Clint Miller kicks ass.
Good guy, man.
I'm sure you know him much better than I do, but I thoroughly enjoy all the times I've spent with him. And
he would be the one subscribing to props too. So he would get the props in the mail and ring me, and we'd go over to his house on a Tuesday night and order pizza and watch the latest props. Or he was always getting the latest videos, whether it was the standard videos or I just remember definitely remember about Clint. He was the connection to America, really. He knew so many more people, and I didn't, I was just kind of fanning out on Miller. So he still rides really good today. He just put out a video the other day. And
I wish
he hasn't missed a beat.
You would have been at the Feast event last year, and he rode the mini ramp contest.
It
was
insane.
Incredible.
It's so consistent. He's always been consistent, but he hasn't lost any tricks. Yeah, he's perfect.
He's a badass.
Miller rules. Yeah, I can't thank him enough. He brought me up and brought me to America the first time, and legend.
Well, Colin, I definitely appreciate the time. Is there anything else you care to add?
I really appreciate your time as well, and hit me up. An hour ago, I was shooting photos of Scotty's new shoe that's coming out, and I don't know what I was going to do for this hour before I went to the airport. So
if you want,
it's perfect time.
We could order some shit on that social media budget you have. Order some lobster or something.
And as long as there's some shoes in the background or some apparel, we can write it off.
Perfect. Awesome, Colin. Congratulations on kicking ass at everything, and
Wow,
appreciate everything you bring to the table.
I really appreciate it. And if anyone's still listening, I thank you so much for the support, and I'm honoured. It's been a good journey. I'm going to keep rolling too. This is fantastic. I'm proud to be here and be a part of it all.
You're going to keep rolling to LAX and hate your life for the next hour. So
Filth.
Have fun, Colin.
Right.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
All right, that does it for this episode. Be sure to follow Colin Mackay on Instagram at Colin Mackay BMX, Mackay. Also, if you're not already following them, follow the Vans account that is ran by Colin at VansBMX66. And until next week, just remember, it doesn't count if you don't pull the rollback. Let's party.